Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you to our, September the 20th Board of County Commission meeting. I would like to, first of all, turn on my mic. Second of all, I'd like to ask you at this time if you have anything that beeps, buzzes, or makes a noise, if you will please turn it off so it won't disturb those of us up here and it will not disturb the people sitting next to you. At this time, please, I would like for Commissioner Jones, if you would lead us in invocation of prayer.
Father God, we just thank you for this season. We thank you, God, for the important decisions we're going to be making in the next year concerning customary use. We thank you for favor with our public. We thank you that even the lawsuits that we're involved in, we're going to see quick resolution and that things are going to be settled in a fair way. We ask, God, that you give us wisdom and guidance as we go forth tonight with these decisions. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome, as always, our clerk with us, Mr. Alex Alford. It's always good to have you join us, Mr. Alford.
It's always fun.
It's always fun. Next, I'd like for us to consider the additions and deletions. Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do have a few additions due to their scheduling and rescheduling of meetings. Under the consent agenda, we would ask that you add a request to approve and authorize the chair to sign the FY 2017 Citizen Corps Program subgrant agreement from Volunteer Florida under the Florida Division of Emergency Management and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, for an award in the amount of $7,000. The second addition will be to request to approve and authorize the chair to sign the FY 2017 Community Emergency Response Team, or CERT, program subgrant agreement from Volunteer Florida under the Florida Division of Emergency Management and the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, for an award amount of $7,000. The third request under the consent agenda is to approve the purchase of a Bobcat 5600 UTV at a cost not to exceed $49,953 as requested by the TDC. Under admin, we going to be asking for direction concerning the November 8th board meeting. Under the TDC, we're asking to add a request to approve for the chairman to sign the task order 16007 with Adkins for the replacement of the multi-use path between Highway 283 and 83. Under public hearing, add a request to approve a resolution amending the FY 15-16 budget to bring forward reserves in the Tourist Development Fund for the purchase of property located on County Road 283 South and beachfront property in Dune Allen. Under deletions, we're asking to delete from both under the consent agenda the approval of the expenditure approvals list, excluding the waste management expenditures, and to delete under the waste management EAL the approval of the waste management expenditure approval list, as those were approved at the last board meeting.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda with the additions and deletions?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Very good. At this time, we will take public comment. If there's anyone in the room that would like to comment on something that is on the agenda, you may do it at this time. We will also bring that subject up as it comes up on the agenda, so if you want to wait till then, that's fine. But is there anyone that wants to speak to a matter on the agenda at this time? Seeing none, we'll go forward. Items to be, is there anyone, any of you that would like to remove something from the consent agenda for further discussion? Seeing none, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. All right, next I'm going to detour, if you will allow me. Our honorable attorney has a school board matter I think he needs to attend to. It's pretty pressing this afternoon, so if we could take his items first with y'all's consent, he would appreciate it.
Yes, Commissioners, this is the third Tuesday, so I have a regular meeting at 5 and only have 3 more. So The first item I have, Commissioners, and thank you for letting me take them out of order, is agenda number 27. It's a request for you to approve a policy for the county regarding how county staffs and commissioners should communicate with attorneys regarding who represent clients before the county. Just by way of a little bit of background, in the private world, if I'm representing a client, I cannot contact the party on the other side in any way, shape, manner, or form. It's just strictly and totally forbidden by the ethics rules. In the public setting, if I'm representing someone who has a matter before the Board of County Commissioners, there's no ethical prohibition against me, and quite frankly, there probably shouldn't be, no ethical prohibition against me representing that private party to come to you and discuss the matter with you. Don't even have to give the county attorney notice. I haven't really had a huge problem with that issue. I've had some problems with attorneys trying to contact not only you guys, but staff, get interpretations and rulings on various things without us being involved. All this policy does, and it's aspirational, it just says, and you guys, quite frankly, are very good about it. When you get phone calls or inquiries from attorneys, to my knowledge, you always call me or I'm there. Or our office is there, but staff needs some direction. It just helps them to be able to say, hey, look, here's my policy. I have to contact the county attorney if you contact me before we can talk about it. And that's really all the policy does. The policy was actually drafted by the Florida Bar's local government section in response to an attempt to change the rule to prevent attorneys from contacting commissioners and if they had a matter before the board. The bar actually turned down that proposed rule, and this policy is just a response to that turning down to give us a policy that we can use. Again, they're not prohibited, but this just says the staff or you guys in your seats will call us and get us involved in the discussions ahead of time. Mm-hmm.
But if we don't,
there's no penalty, and
then why have it? If there's
well,
no penalty, why have it?
For direction, quite frankly, it's and if you need to tell an attorney, look, here's our policy, and I'm going to follow it. It gives you a policy to follow.
And as he said, I think it's more as much for staff as much as yes. It is for us. Yes.
But you're correct. There's no penalty to the attorney. There's no bar penalty, and there's certainly no penalty from the county. Although I would certainly look very unkindly upon it.
Yeah, but it could create an issue with the public.
Should not, no.
Why not? If they find out, say, Ms. Commander over here met with attorney such and such.
Again, there's nothing unethical or illegal about it. It's just a policy that says if she gets a phone call, we would prefer that she contact us and let us be a part of the discussions.
But do we need to put that in policy?
It is. It's part of the
I understand it is. That's what you're asking for. Yes. But do we need to do it with that understanding that we will reach out to you if an attorney contacts us?
Commissioner, it's my hope that once we pass this policy, we won't have the problem.
This is just saying that this is the best practice.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's not necessarily a policy as much as it is a practice, right?
It's a policy and a practice, yes, ma'am.
You know.
Do we need a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion among the board? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. The next item is a
There's
request.
a nay over here.
Oh,
One nay.
there was one nay. I'm
One
sorry.
nay, yeah. There is a request to approve and authorize the chair to execute an acknowledgement of plat of the Bluffs at Sandy Shores. Let me give you a little background. We approved a plat called the Bluff at Sandy Shores, I believe it was 2014. There was going to be a closing on one of the lots. It's a very small plat, by the way. I think it was only 4 lots. The closing title company determined, in their opinion, there's some discussion about whether this is actually true, but in their opinion, there was this part of the property that was part of the plat, very small part of the property that was part of the plat, that was not owned by the dedicator. And so they asked to correct that the person who owned that slip of property, 1, deed it to the dedicators, which has happened, and 2, join in and acknowledge that it's been platted, which they've done. But in addition, they also asked that the commission affirm that the plat's been accepted subject to the new property from the alleged owner joining in the plat. It's really a title issue. All we're asking you to do is acknowledge the plat exists with this new owner, or actually believed to be owner, joining in the plat.
Motion to affirm.
Second.
Have motion second, any discussion? Anyone in the audience? All those in favor?
Aye.
And lastly, this is from me and the county administrator. We were looking for direction on the San Roy property. We have, as you know, made a contract offer. There have been some negotiations and some conditions brought back to us, I think we've discussed with you. It's been out there some time. We just need direction if you want us to continue negotiations or formally withdraw and move on to something else.
So so Mr. Russell never signed the contract?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am, he has never signed the
Right,
contract.
okay. And what was the last discussion that we had with him?
It involved us trying to receive assurances from the planning department that we would agree to certain things ahead of time, which quite frankly, we don't have the ability to do. We being the
can't do
commission.
that, yeah. Okay.
And just for clarity, when Mr. Davis mentioned negotiate, we're talking about terms of the contract, not price.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
right, terms, yeah. I thought when we voted on it that time, everybody had agreed, and he had agreed, and it was all done, and now he won't sign the contract. Okay, well, I don't think there's anything else we can do except move on and use that money to,
Purchase something.
for another parcel, perhaps.
Do we need a motion to abandon the contract?
Actually, I think a motion to formally withdraw from the contract or withdraw the offer.
We don't have any money, earnest deposit money or anything, do we?
No, ma'am, there's no earnest.
Okay.
Well, that's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion second to withdraw our offer. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to comment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Madam Chair, before Mr. Davis skips out,
I'm going to be here till about 10 till 5.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just had one quick question. A few weeks ago, we'd asked you to arrange for a workshop for the public regarding customary use.
Yes, sir.
Any status?
Yes, sir. We're prepared at this point to present to you both a workshop and a meeting to look at adopting an ordinance on customary use. We would hope that if we could do that, we'd get direction from you to do that in the October 11 meeting, and then move forward with an ordinance at that point. We're prepared to do that.
Could we go ahead and do it tonight? I was going to wait till my name, but I think, I'm ready to move forward with it.
If you will direct us to move forward, we will have it on the agenda on the 11th.
Move forward.
Okay, we're off topic, but Ben, he brought it up. Can we have a motion, or do we just
it's
direct?
just
you?
direction.
No, it's just direction. We don't
Just
need
direction
To
to move
put an ordinance on the 11th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what about a workshop? No workshop?
I think we need to have a workshop for the public before we
Yeah.
Okay.
do the ordinance.
Why don't we then move, well,
That doesn't give you much time to write it.
can we have a workshop
Let's get a
before the
workshop
11th?
going.
We could, hang
put out
on,
there what we
somebody
got.
pull out a calendar. Hang on. Done.
Just to be clear to follow our policies.
You saying before the 11th?
Ordinance on the 11th.
Why don't we have the ordinance
On the 11th.
on the 11th and then have the workshop,
We could have
and then the
next
public can
Right,
comment
what-
on that after the 11th?
The way we do ordinances, as you know, we present the ordinance
Yeah.
and for comments, and then
Right.
2 weeks later, we have the actual adoption hearing, so.
So
or the
you're
next
looking
meeting.
at the second meeting, you're looking at the fourth Tuesday in October to have the adoption hearing?
Yes, ma'am, so we could have the
So
workshop
you can have it
anytime.
between the 11th and that meeting?
What about the
Yes.
18th? That's a Tuesday.
I have a school board meeting that night.
Forget the school board meeting.
I only have 3 or 4.
I'm tied up on the 18th.
Me too,
Okay.
I am too.
The 17th?
Hang on, I gotta find October. Oh, there it is. 17th is a Monday.
I'm free.
You got one free?
We have time
I'm
to
free.
advertise that they can pass.
Yeah,
I've got West Florida Regional Planning Council, but I could miss if we need to do it.
Didn't break your heart, but you could do it.
We can go ahead
Three.
and advertise
Okay.
now.
Mr. Bill?
Yeah, I may not be busy.
That week's flexible. The only day I've got is the 20th I can't meet.
Okay.
I could do 17th or 19th.
Ms. Meadows, can you do the 17th?
No, the 17th is.
It's a Monday.
Yeah, I'm gonna be out of town, I think, on that day.
Okay, what about the 19th? Everybody check the 19th.
I'm good.
I'm
I'm
good.
good.
Okay? How's the 19th sound to you?
That's perfectly fine with us.
Okay. Workshop on the 19th of October.
What time?
Do we need a motion to that
What
effect?
time?
Yes.
Where's it gonna be?
Down here?
I would have.
Okay.
9 o'clock
It's a little late, isn't it?
in the morning?
9 a.m.?
Well, you gotta have it so people who work can come, I would think.
Starting,
but-
Well-
starting it at 4 and then, because it's going to take quite a while.
4
Yeah.
o'clock.
I even say 3. What, 3 to 7? 3 to 4, 7. That's 4 hours.
How about 5 to 7?
What'd you say, babe?
5 to 7?
Sorry. Do you want to ask them if they
It's 2 hours.
did that night or
It's
just
2
have
hours.
4 to 7, because that's 3 hours.
We
I'll
don't
make,
have to take all 3
It-
hours.
It could take 3. Let's go 4 to 7.
Let's go 4 to 7.
4 to 7, okay?
Okay?
I make a motion, we have a customary use workshop on Wednesday, October 19th, from 4 to 7 at the South Walton Annex.
Commissioners, oh, sorry.
Was that a motion?
That was a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion, further discussion among the board? Any among staff? All right, anyone in the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Right.
Okay,
Commissioners, the option would be, it is out there to have a special meeting immediately following for adoption, or you can wait to the next regular meeting. I would leave that to your discretion.
I'd like to wait till a regular meeting for that, guys.
yeah. Okay,
And Commissioners, also, we do need to set a executive session for 3 p.m. on the first meeting in October 11th, for both the Goodwin and the Alford cases. And if you would set that for 3 p.m., we'll get it advertised and ready to have.
So moved.
Second?
motion and second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Executive session, October the 11th, starting at 3 p.m.
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Thank you. That's all I
Done.
have.
thank you, sir. Now then, we will go all the way back to Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. The first item is a request for approval of the U.S. Treasury required multi-year implementation plan. Pardon me, this is the next step in moving our access to Pot 1 restore funds. The plan is complete. It has gone through a 45-day advertised period, and now it's time for you to ask you to approve it, that we will submit to Treasury to get a response from them. So our request is for approval so we can submit it to U.S. Treasury.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and second, any further discussion? Anyone in the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
I just want to make sure, did we adopt the consent agenda? Just want to make sure.
Yes, we did.
I don't think
Yes,
we
we
did. I think you talked about removing items, but I don't think you actually moved and seconded the consent.
Bill
agenda.
made the motion, yes, we did. But we can do it again, but Bill
Yeah,
made the
let's-
motion.
Make a motion to adopt the,
Consent agenda.
Motion to adopt the consent agenda.
who did the
Second.
second?
I thought you did the second.
Second.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah,
Aye.
Thank you.
because I checked it all.
Thank you, Commissioners. The next item is for your consideration. We have an individual that is willing to donate a parcel or a lot on Walton Way. You have a summary in your packet from our environmental department of the benefit of accepting that if you so choose. It is a lot of record, so it does have the right to build one dwelling unit. It's just over 1 acre. It has a significant amount of jurisdictional wetlands, so there would have to be some work to be done to build a dwelling on it. We were asked if it would be useful as mitigation, and there is a remote possibility that it could be. So the primary gain would be the county would have a piece of property should we need one in that area, and that it would reduce the density in that area by 1 dwelling unit.
Is it in a neighborhood plat?
Yes, ma'am.
Subdivision? Does it have homeowner association restrictions or anything?
I don't know.
But if we can't, we certainly can't build a house, and if we
No,
can't, if there's so
right.
much wetlands that it's really not usable, Other
could
than
sell
to
it
take
to
it off
the
the tax
golf
rolls,
course.
why do we want it?
Could sell it to the golf course for mitigation or a
Something,
sand trap or
That
something.
would be a strategy, I suppose.
you know, start there. Where's the golf course?
So they want to give it to us?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh. What's between it and the golf course?
Looks like wetlands.
Yeah,
I think it's all wet.
it's all right.
Are there back taxes owed on it?
I'm sorry?
Are there back taxes owed on it?
Not sure.
Was a federal crime committed?
Quite possibly. Maybe bodies buried, we don't know.
Okay. Well,
I mean, I'm all about, getting free land, but if we can't do anything with it, other than taking it off the tax roll, what do we,
Well, they could use it for mitigation on these.
Possibly.
Possibly, but I don't see why they couldn't.
yeah.
Council?
I mean, we can, if you want to move forward, we can have someone check and see if there are any back taxes owed on it.
And Commissioners, I would also suggest we get a quick title search, just to make sure there's no liens or encumbrances.
So we can
Yeah,
bring it
'cause
back.
it might-
We can do
there
those
might be
things
a
and bring it back to
homeowners-
the next
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
if there's a homeowner association,
Okay, so
And
we
see
want
if
to
there's a homeowner
check for an HOA,
Uh-huh.
back taxes.
And if we could use it for
Use it for
mitigation.
mitigation.
There was one other
If there's
question.
any bodies buried on
No,
Title search.
title search.
Use it for
it.
dry-
Title search, yeah.
lookout tower.
All right.
Alrighty then.
I think it's the feds looking at it.
Yeah, we have your direction.
Yes, sir.
Next item is, a few meetings back, we had some discussion regarding the acquisition of properties on the north shore of Choctawhatchee Bay, adjacent to US 331. You identified 5 parcels that you'd like us to obtain appraisals on. We've done that. In your packet, you have a listing of those appraisals and the average of the 2 for each of those parcels. We were asked for the sizes of those, and while that's not in your packet, if you want to jot these down, I can tell you that parcel number 5 is 2.14 acres. Parcel number 1 is 0.65 acres. Parcel number 3 is 1.9 acres. Parcel number 2 is 1.12 acres. And parcel number 4 is 0.41 acres. Also, parcels 1, 2, 3, and 4 have common ownership. And I can tell you, we've not moved any further than obtaining the appraisals, subject to your direction. We can look at the land use of them and get environmental to take a look at them to see what space is usable. But we just requesting direction to move forward tonight.
What about the property, his property on the other side of the road?
The little triangle. We did an appraisal on that, and I think the asking price was about twice what the appraised value was, and I've not heard back. I think the board gave us direction to make a $50,000 offer, and that was not accepted.
And it's a pretty small piece too, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
I think it's probably around the .65.
Well, the access, I think, is the issue there.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't get into it headed south.
Yeah, can't get there from here. Yeah. I like parcel, well, I like all of them, but I mean, do we have to choose?
I think we should get the maps, the wetland maps, soil maps, drainage maps, whatever is necessary to do some due diligence, and then the land use, of course, and then what could be done on, one or all. Is one parcel better than the other, something like that? Bless you.
Okay.
And what the access is with the new road there going in. What will the access be like?
All right. We'll be glad to do that and bring it back to you.
Because are we looking at something simple like was there before? Basically docks where you could fish and people for time immemorial, I mean, since I've been in Walton County, have used that sandy part there for their children to swim and play. Is that kind of what we're looking at? Really not.
Yeah, my
you know.
site visit, basically, there would have to be some work done on that inlet coming down between 5 and 3 there, 5, 2, and 3. The dock is in fair shape, but the mouth of it is kind of sanded in. It would limit some boats getting in and out. But if you look at 4 and 2, there's an oak tree hammock in there that would make a nice park.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it would go into 3. It's cut with several dirt roads that go in there, sandy roads in there, and I've seen several people get stuck in there, but we need to improve the access. Where it fingers up right there on Bay Grove in Lot 3, that is, I believe there's a culvert underneath the road right there, and that is another access point off of Bay Grove in the event DOT takes some action along 331 that may limit that egress into it.
Yeah, it looks like you could access 4, 2, and 3 off of Bay Grove.
Oh, you can actually get to 1 and 5 too,
And 152 off of Bay Grove?
off of Bay Grove.
I think it was what, picnic and parking, bathroom?
Yeah, just simple stuff.
Beachfront.
Nothing, yeah.
Little dock in there for
Yeah.
boats.
And if you've not seen the property and would like to, we'd be glad to do a field trip
I've
with you.
seen it.
It's a beautiful piece of
It
property.
is.
It is very
It's
pretty.
really pretty back in there. Just, I'd like to do as little as possible to it because it is so pretty. I mean, just keep it as natural as possible with the trees and, you know.
Yes, agreed, especially on lots 4 and 2
Yeah,
and part of 3.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we will do a little more research and bring you back
And bring it
some
back to us.
more data.
All right, thank you, sir.
Next item is a request for your consideration of a resolution urging the Florida Legislature and Cabinet to dedicate conservation funds for water conservation projects in the environmentally sensitive areas of North and Central Florida, and to oppose any efforts to use state conservation funds to purchase farmland south of Lake Okeechobee for water storage. We presented you with a draft resolution earlier, and I believe Mr. Davis made some adjustments to that resolution. We were asked to document some of the findings that were in the resolution. We did that, and that was provided to you on an earlier date via email. So we certainly have no opposition to the board supporting this resolution. We think conserving water in North Central Florida is a good idea. So,
Motion to approve the resolution?
Second.
Okay, and second by Mr. Chapman. Is there any discussion among the board? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this issue? If you would come forward, please. If you would state your name for the record and spell your last name.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. My name is Nick Locker. I'm with Stand Up North Florida, and that's spelled Lima, Oscar, Foxtrot, Echo, Romeo.
What's your last name?
Yes,
Okay.
LOFFER. And I'll keep it short and simple. North Florida is entitled to Amendment 1 funds, which the voters approved by 75% to 25% for our resources that are important to our communities. It's not all for one management district going to one project in South Florida. Our projects need funded, and we don't want to see them underfunded. So we need to send a message to the legislature saying, that we can't be sending all the money down south. It's simple as that.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any questions of this gentleman? All right. Apparently not. Thank you for speaking. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this issue? Seeing none, ladies and gentlemen, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carries.
thank you, Commissioners. The next item is requesting direction regarding the November 8th, 2016 board meeting, which coincides with Election Day. We've had a request to perhaps move that meeting for at least one commissioner that will be in a campaign and another that needs to sit on the canvassing board. We would recommend November the 7th, same time, same place.
If y'all agree, I need a motion.
So move.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, anyone in the audience? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
It's gonna be the 4 o'clock.
Be 4 o'clock, regular time, just moving the day up one.
Thank you, Commissioners. The next item is regarding an update on North Eden Park Drive. At the last meeting, we had some discussion about how to better secure that property. Buddy Wright has done some work on that, and I believe has come up with a plan that will offer some additional security and improvements that will make it safer and more secure.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. At the August 23rd meeting, we were asked to, you had one of the neighbors come and tell you about some security concerns at the park. So Public Works was tasked with looking at it and coming back with a recommendation. Obviously, our recommendation would not be not to close the park. I think there's some opportunities there where, we can do a few improvements and still provide better security for the park. If you look at the drawing there, as you're going north on North Eden Park, down in that area, there's a 58-foot of right-of-way. And you see that middle strip there. And so basically the road ends at the park now. And, there is access through the park for our guys to get in there and clean it. But what we would like to do is go just inside the park there and into the park 20 foot, provide a T-turnaround so people can get in and out, and then put a fence there just beyond that to restrict vehicular traffic. That way you keep the vehicles out of the park. There's really no reason for them to be in the park. And you give them a way to turn around and get out, and it increases security because they can't get inside the park and hide anywhere. So that's what we've come up with a proposal. We certainly would look for any direction from the board if y'all see a different way that y'all like for us to go on this.
I think this is a good plan, and I'd like to see a no outlet sign so people know that there's no way to go around or to another neighborhood or anything.
Yeah, I think that would be a big help.
There's lots of children that go down that road, and it really would be a shame to close it. So I think walkable and golf carts or bicycles would be a great way to go.
We have installed a security light at the park some time back, and we have a sign there that says the park closes at sunset. So,
Have you reached out to the sheriff's office to ask for their assistance in enforcing that?
we will. And I have the ordinance, I looked it up today that talks about the county parks, so they, if it's that county park does close at sunset. I haven't found the ordinance, so we'll give the sheriff's department on that.
You say we have security cameras. Are they connected to the sheriff's department?
We
You do not?
Security
Oh, I thought you
light. We have a
did.
security light there.
Oh, security light. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
And while we're on the topic, and I told this gentleman I would present it to the board, and I can anticipate your reaction, but I've had more than one call from a neighboring property owner that would like to purchase that parcel. I don't see any interest in that, but I can tell him that the board would not be interested. I would just like to see some nods. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Buddy.
Okay. Do we want to, this is information on the update. Do we want to give them direction to go forward with this?
I mean, unless there's an objection, we'll move forward with it.
Okay. All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Next item is regarding Alderberry Road for maintenance. If you recall, I believe it was at the last meeting in August, there was a request for the board to accept Alderberry Road into maintenance from a development order sometime back that was a condition of the approval of the development order that they make some improvements to the road, and once those improvements were made, the county would accept the road into maintenance. The improvements were made, however, it never made it to the next step in the process, which was the county accepting it. At your direction, staff has gone and reviewed what's in place today and has confirmed that it does meet county standards, and we would recommend that we take the appropriate action to accept it into county maintenance.
And what is that action? You need a motion tonight?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Bill, second by Ms. Jones. Is there any discussion? Anybody in the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item, Commissioners and Madam Chair, is a request to begin negotiations for request for qualifications 016-027, which are CEI services for County Road 183 or Kidd Road. This is a scrap project. We had 2 firms submitted. Genesis was rated as the highest firm, so your approval would allow us to begin negotiating with Genesis Engineering.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Chapman, second by Ms. Jones. Any discussion among the board? Anyone in the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next item is a request to award and authorize the chairman to sign contract number 016-030 for preventative maintenance and repair to multi-phase traffic control signals with Murdoch Investments LLC. If you may recall, over the past many years, Griffin Traffic Signals has provided this service to us. The Griffin Traffic Signal is now Murdoch Investments. We had gone through the previous contracts and utilized all of the contract extensions, so we put it out for bid. They were the only bidder, and they were responsive, and so we would recommend approving their contract and awarding to Murdoch and authorize the chairman to sign the agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Infeld, second by Chapman. Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That's all we have from Admin, Madam Chair.
All right, Mr. Tusa.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners.
Before you get started, share the good news about your wife is up for an award.
I don't know if it's good news or not. I mean,
Well,
she's up-
anytime you're up for an award, it's
She's
good
up for
news.
an award, so we'll see if she wins later
So
on.
he-
It's a
yeah, so-
Lifetime Achievement Award for Public Relations, so I'm excited for her. So hopefully
We are too.
she'll win. So anyway, first up, we have an update from Matt Tremble with Taylor Engineering for coastal management. And then Brian will be up, and then I'll be back with a brief update.
All right.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, just a very brief update on the coastal management program for Walton County.
Would you spell your last name for the record, please?
Yes, ma'am. Matt Trammell, Trammell, Senior Engineer, Taylor Engineering. We had held a beach management meeting quite a few months ago. It was discussed with the Beach Management Committee with the tabling of the county HSDR project. What should we do as far as our beach management program, since we're moving from shifting from more of a proactive to a reactive response? And it was discussed developing a storm response plan. One thing we did hear loud and clear with all the public workshops and the meetings with the HSDR project was the need and the want from the general public to be heavily involved with the development of any future plans or any modifications to the plan. So our first step in this was to march to the TDC as well as to the BCC, is why we're here tonight. Our first step is to hold a series of public outreach activities. We'd like to first, formally notify and hold a workshop to discuss these alternate forms of beach management. We'd like input from the public on how they would like to see the beach managed, both the public areas as well as private properties, those from the local upland homeowners. And what would we like what we'd like to see as far as the response procedures from the county. There may not be any, there may be some, but we really like to hear that input. And then some additional items I had was obtaining the DEP and Corps permits. The review from the DEP side has been done through the HSDR project. The permit was deemed complete by DEP, however, the Corps of Engineers withdrew that permit. You all know we had Hurricane Hermine just passed. We were very fortunate. We were on the good side of the storm for once. We've been very fortunate over the last 10 years, but should that storm have tracked a little further west, it would have been a whole different ballgame. And not having those permits in place really limits us as far as our management strategies. So I want to make it very clear to the general public, I would like to go ahead, it's my recommendation, to obtain those permits both from the DEP and the Corps, but with the sole intention of putting them up on the shelf. We're not moving forward with the HSDR project. It's just the fact of shelving those permits for the implementation of an emergency response should it be needed. Also, we'd like to look into collecting annual or semi-annual beach surveys. We've done a great job of monitoring the western Walton County beaches where we merged in 2006 and 2007. We do not have any recent monitoring data of the eastern beaches, so collecting data on a semi-annual basis would really help us strategize as to, are we seeing recovery from the beaches? Are they showing good signs of health, or are they showing continuing signs of erosion? That'll really help our beach management strategy as well. And then outlining our pre and post-storm activities. Brian and the beach management department have a good list and protocol of his operations group to go out and document county parks, document county infrastructure, take good pre and post-storm photos. We don't have such a plan for the remainder of the county beaches, whether they be private or these other smaller right-of-ways. So coming up with a full, more comprehensive strategy of documenting the health of the entire county shoreline. And again, if those permits are received, the proper actions to be maintaining those over the next 5 to 10 years. So that's just a brief outline, just to give you an update. Again, our strategy is to notice and hold a public workshop, go back to the TDC, and then again come back to you, the BCC, outline what we had heard from the public, refine this outline, and then take the next step of actually developing the document. And this would be a living, breathing, working document. It would change as we move into the future and as our coastal management needs change. But I'm here to answer any questions you may have or any comments.
Ladies and gentlemen, have any comments? Have you talked with legal about, we got a pretty clear message from the beachfront owners as far as you know, the permits and all were concerned. They've got a pretty, so how in relationship to the beach renourishment and the permit, and the permits?
Yes, ma'am. Well, if you remember, the board's action was not to kill the HSDR project.
Right.
It was merely to table it.
Yeah.
And there was many reasons for that. But I think what Matt is suggesting is that we go forward with obtaining these permits, and then in the event we do have a storm, we're able to renourish the beaches much faster.
Yes, it would just give us that option of more quickly implementing that plan or a modification of that plan. But as we are now, whether it be next year or 2 years from now, those permits and the review process would in essence die, and we'd be 6, 9, 12 months behind the ball. And I have made it very clear to a number of the property owners that I spoke with. They said as long as we have clear direction from the BCC that we are not moving forward with the HSDR project, there was no issue with obtaining the permits. Just to be clear that we're not moving forward with the HSDR. So, and again, we will be coming back to the BCC to relay those comments and before we take the next step of drafting the plan.
All right, can you move forward today with direction to start working on the core permits? Or do you need to wait till you go through this?
We certainly can. I think it will be best that just with all the outcome of the HSDR project to foster some goodwill, if you will, with the general public, just to have that public meeting, and then from there, it's only another month or 2 months until we come back to the BCC. I don't think that's going to kill us.
Well, I understand that, but I remember Opal, and it was in October.
Yeah.
Yes,
So,
sir.
you know, there's still about 2 months left of the hurricane season. And
Well, and just so you know, I still am corresponding on a regular basis about once a month with the Corps of Engineers as well as the DEP, just to make sure, touch base with them, let them know that we still are moving forward with some form of coastal management here in Walton County. So those projects have not, and the review from the environmental side has not gone unforgotten, and they've not been thrown away. So I think it's not going to be a quick process, but I'm here at your direction, so.
Okay.
well, I just think we ought to move forward, at least trying to get it. We know we're not going with the beach renourishment. That's been tabled. So the fact, obviously be brought up at your public meetings about it. But I'm just kind of concerned if we wait too late in the ball game and we have something come in into October or whatever, and we haven't got the permits, we're going to be hearing it because it's going to take 8 or 9 months to finally go through that process to start doing something.
And I agree with Commissioner Chapman, and we could announce at the public meeting that we have moved forward with getting the permits,
If I may.
or moving forward with getting the permits.
This may be a compromise if you give me direction of obtaining those permits with the sole direction of still no forward movement or progression with the HSDR project.
I think that's what I just got through saying.
Yeah.
Is that a motion, Mr. Chapman?
I can make it a form of a
We
motion.
need, let's have a
Sounds
motion. And
Second.
so we have a motion by Chapman, second by Jones. Any further discussion among the board? Anyone in the audience? I see a hand, can't see a face. Okay.
Just somebody can't do.
Okay, Ms. Bausch, if you,
I just, Lisa Bausch, BOUSHY. I have a question for Matt. Does that mean, I'm allowed to ask Matt a question?
you ask me and I'll ask him.
Okay. What I'd like to know is, I think in theory, this is really a good idea, although I don't want to get strung out for saying that since I am a beachfront owner. But the question I would have is, if these permits are approved and everything, does that mean that you would still have to have an easement or whatever from the beachfront owners? Would you have these DEP and Corps of Engineer, or what happens then?
I'll let Sydney
That's
answer
a
that
good question. Honestly, Ms. Balshi, I don't know the answer for sure, but I'm sure Matt and I could research that and get back to you.
I'd suggest that you have the
Right.
answer to that
It's-
question, because I don't think any beachfront owner is opposed to having an emergency plan in place. I mean, that's responsible. What I do think, though, is that Matt and I have had some conversations about this individually, and one of the things, I said to him is, Matt, a lot of beachfront owners are very comfortable that they would restore their own, they pay for the sand, they pay for whatever it takes to restore it, so why would that be a problem? And he said, well, what if the day came that there's really not sand available to do that? And, inland sand to do that. And I mean, that is a possibility that I don't think we can ignore. So I would just suggest that if there's a way to still make sure that the beachfront owners had a way to say, either I'd like to pay for it myself and it's available to do that, or no, I'd like for you to restore it under these permits, that be an option that they could get.
But I would imagine even if the property owners restored them themselves, we'd still need these permits.
I would think.
Yeah, so, I mean, you'd still need the permits. You'd either have to get them and it would take longer, or us go ahead and have them in our pocket. But whoever did it, you're gonna have to have these, accomplished it later on, you'd have to have the permits.
I just wanted to let you know that, and Matt, true to his word, he really has talked to a number of people, and some of us who attended lots and lots of those workshops, so
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea to have that.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Anyone else? All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion among the board? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. All right.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, Commissioners. I'm Brian Kellenberger, Director of Beach Operations. Appreciate your time. Our business this afternoon is request approval and for the chairman to sign task order 16-007 with Atkins Engineers. This is for design and permitting of the multi-use path repair replacement between Highway 283 and Highway 83. FY16 budget included monies for bike path repair or multi-use path repair. And we previously identified a section going east from 395 to Eastern Lake. Preliminary studies of that revealed it was going to be very problematic with utilities and other items in the right-of-way. So with the Western Lake Bridge project moving forward, we felt that it would be prudent to change it to this section here. So what that will give us is now this 2.1 mile section of new multi-use path to be combined with the new path that goes from 283 east to Watercolor. So we have approximately 5.5 miles of new 10-foot wide path. So this is a request to approve design and permitting fee for Atkins for that section of the path.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Enfield, second by Meadows. Any further discussion?
No, just a question, Brian.
Yes, ma'am.
Brian, so are you going to replace the whole, you're going to dig it up and just replace the whole thing?
Yes, ma'am.
For that section?
Yep.
10 feet wide?
10 feet wide. It'll be to the standards that we came up with in our design guideline.
And you're going to
Which is-
cross Little Redfish and
Yes, ma'am. Big redfish,
Big redfish.
alligator. There's
Alligator.
another small wooden pedestrian bridge that'll be replaced. Now, the bridges that are metal, they're 8 feet wide. So what we'll do is the approaches that are wooden, we'll widen those out to 10 feet wide, and we'll neck them down at about a 60-degree angle where they come to that 8-foot wide metal span.
Okay.
So we feel that, at this point, there's nothing we can do with the 8-foot wide metal spans.
What's the time frame on this?
Design and permitting take about 2 or 3 months, and then we'll see where we are in relation to the tourist season starting. But I would figure construction will take about 2 months. I would like to get it in before, May, but we'll have to see how the design and permitting process goes.
Is TDC, are y'all paying for this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Anyone in the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
It's like tag team with you guys.
I just wanted to give a quick update on the tax collections for July. We were up just a little over 12% year over year. We were at $4,925,580.30. So had by far the largest July that we've ever seen. So I think that's good for the community, obviously, from an economic standpoint. And like I mentioned last time, I think our numbers are kind of leveling off. When we look at our garbage collection numbers, they're kind of static. So obviously our ADR is up. So it's always nice that we have more money coming in with the same amount of people coming. So anyway, wanted to give you an update on that. And wanted to give you a little update on the Dune Allen beachfront property that we closed on last week. We have secured that property. And then we've also pulled the pool out. We thought that was a liability for the county, so we took the pool out. Public Works did that today and yesterday. So that is out, and we are in the process of getting some quotes on what it would take to raise the home. And we'll bring that back to you once we have those numbers.
Very good. Thank you for
Any
sharing
questions?
that pool.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Next, we have a public hearing to request and approve a resolution amending the FY 15-16 budget to bring forward reserves into the Tourist Development Fund for the purchase of property located at County Highway 283 South and beachfront property in Dune Allen. I need a motion to open the public hearing, please.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
At the last board meeting, we requested that the board approve for us to advertise for this public hearing on those 2 properties that are to be purchased by the TDC, and we are just asking to go ahead and amend those by resolution into the budget. It's a total of $15,059,000.
$15,059,000, okay. 059, all right. Any discussion among the board? Anyone in the audience like to comment on this matter? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Motion by Chapman, second by Infeld. All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good. So we've done Mr. Davis's items. So we'll move on to Commissioner Meadows.
Don't have anything.
Commissioner Infeld.
Get up.
Commissioner Jones.
Nothing.
Wow. Commissioner Chapman.
Nothing.
All right, and I don't either. We don't have any citizens' requests. Do we? Yeah. Let me get public comment. Let me get public comment out of the way. Is there anyone that would like to comment on something that is not on the agenda? Well, that was not on the agenda. Would you like to comment on anything? Seeing none, we will take a 10-minute break.
Could we invite this crowd back to every meeting?
Yeah, we'd like to. Yeah. Come back to order, please. Mr. Dice.
Good evening, Madam Chairman. We have several items tonight. The first item we have is a request to authorize staff to move forward with an amendment to the Land Development Code regarding the neighborhood infill category. As the staff report says in your book, right now the language is sort of vague, and it's been interpreted differently, I think, over the years, and it really relates to this language. It says that it currently says infill proposals in the MPA district will be a major development. It really doesn't define what proposals are, and staff would like to insert an exemption to that language that minor replat or lot splits would not be considered a major development order, because we felt that's a little bit overkill for those. Minor lot splits are fairly simple, and lot splits are something we do routinely. Does not really dictate a lot of analysis, quite frankly. And so we're asking for us to insert that language as it's shown in your packet with the red underlined area, to where it would read infill proposals other than minor replat or lot splits in the MPA district would not be a major development. We would handle those the way we have done in the past, which would be a lower level administrative review. And so we're asking staff to allow staff to move forward with that. Obviously, this will need to be advertised and go to the Planning Commission, and then also back to the County Commission as well.
All right.
If you need a motion, I'll make it.
I need a motion. I need a second. All right, I have a motion and a second. Is any discussion? Anyone in the audience like to discuss this matter? I see a hand, Ms. Bauschy. Thank you for standing up. I couldn't see you.
That's all right. Yeah, I know I managed to be in the perfect place.
Yeah.
Boushy. I just want to ask a question about it. If you have a neighborhood infill lot, and let's say that hypothetically it's 200 feet wide and it's 300 feet deep, what does that mean it could be divided into 20 parcels? Or I'm a little bit confused about, I understand the concept of it not being a major development order and being able to do it in-house, but how do we make sure that whatever divisions are made are compatible with its surrounding environment is my concern.
Okay.
And maybe there's an answer to that.
Yeah, Mr. Carpenter, can you answer that?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
Matt Carpenter for the Planning Department. This is a very narrowly drawn request. It doesn't apply to anything except for lots of record that are in neighborhood infill. The Comprehensive Plan Land Development Code allow a property owner of a lot of record in neighborhood or in any land use district to split that lot one time without having to go through the development order process. It can only be done once for that particular lot. Once it's split, it's no longer a lot of record, and that policy wouldn't be allowed to be used on that particular parcel. It only involves the creation of two lots from one lot. Okay. In circumstances where you got a much larger, you can get two lots out of that lot of record, and anything greater than that, you have to go through the regular development order process, which would be a major development in neighborhood infill.
So I had an infill lot at one point, and it was designated neighborhood infill, but it allowed for 8 units per acre. So in the case you're talking about, I could have not gone through this simpler process, or I could have.
The comprehensive plan at present, as of March 1, 2011, set a base density in neighborhood infill, which was previously 8, at 2.
Oh, okay. Well, that
And
answers that.
Anything greater than 2 units per acre requires a compatibility analysis and a full-blown development.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate your question. Yeah. Anyone else? Amen. All right. We have a motion second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Madam Chairman, next item is a legislative item. It's dealing with the Coastal Dune Lake Protection Zone amendment that resulted from the settlement agreement. Again, I'm going to ask Matt to come up and present this proposal.
Thank you, Commissioners. Matt Carpenter for the Planning Department. This is a request to approve a large-scale amendment, which is a remedial amendment, an ordinance amending Comprehensive Plan Policy C-1.4.1. pursuant to the August 23rd compliance agreement in the Thousand Friends of Florida et al. The Walton County case, number 15-5619 GM. Significant, this particular amendment mirrors the settlement agreement. There's nothing in this amendment that wasn't in the settlement agreement. There are other things in the settlement agreement that will later appear in the Land Development Code, should you choose to adopt this amendment tonight and authorize us to move forward with the Land Development Code amendment. Essentially, the big pieces of it, it provides for 40% impervious development area and allows up to 50% clearing of native vegetation within the coastal dune lake protection zone first 300 feet. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Have any questions, ladies and gentlemen?
And Commissioners, just to let you know, DEO will have 30 days to review this amendment. So this will become effective after we receive their review, hopefully earlier than 30 days, but no later than 30 days from today's date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, Enfield, second, Chapman. Anyone like to comment? Yes, ma'am. Do come forward, please. Again, if you state your name for the record and spell your last name.
My name is Cynthia Alexander, Alexander. I'm here to urge you to reject this amendment, and I'm very interested to hear that there's more to the settlement agreement than what appears in this amendment. I'd like to know where I can get a copy of that as an affected property owner. This is a violation of vested rights. It should apply only to unplatted property from this date forward, and it's illegal to be retroactive to platted land. Platted land and developed properties each have vested rights that occurred at the time the county approved the plat and the setbacks, and occurred again when the county approved and permitted the dwellings in their footprints. I believe that it is a taking. Retroactive regulations that restrict and/or prohibit use and enjoyment previously lawful is a taking. It is discriminatory and capricious. There is no credible or substantial evidence that lakeside homeowners are harming the lakes. The harm to the lakes, to the extent that it exists, is from Highway 30A, parking lots, the bike path, and the ongoing failure of the county to implement a stormwater retention system 2 decades after the comprehensive plan required it. This is a zoning change. The county has never notified the thousands of property owners that are within 300 feet of a coastal dune lake and their tributaries, and allowed them to understand the ramifications of this agreement and participate in a public zone hearing. Item 10 of the compliance agreement is a false statement. It says, other persons unaffected, nothing in this agreement shall be deemed to affect the rights of any person not a party to the agreement. Yet this is going to affect many innocent property owners, both residential and businesses, that will find their investments doomed if they must redevelop or rebuild. Exhibit A, the 100-foot Exhibit A number 1, the 100-foot buffer requirement. My home was built in 1983. My subdivision was platted in 1980. My plat requires a 25-foot buffer. I do not have room to rebuild my home 100 feet back from the lake. Any attempt to move my home's footprint would require the removal of specimen quality 100-year-old oak trees. And Exhibit A number 10, rebuilding, states that I cannot rebuild in my footprint even though the county assured me that I could in previous hearings. My footprint is 60 feet back from the lake, not 100 feet. I should be allowed to rebuild in my footprint. The language says the county may grant an exemption. I should be guaranteed an exemption. I and hundreds like me should, by law, be grandfathered and exempt from these rules. This lawsuit is capricious and baseless on my home and property rights. It's a low blow to the hundreds and thousands of taxpayers that have invested and settled in South Walton. Do not sign this agreement. Defend the property rights of South Walton taxpayers. Fight and win this lawsuit and ask the judge to order the plaintiffs to reimburse the legal costs to the taxpayers.
And finish. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, I was going to let you know, if you'd like a copy of the settlement agreement, you can contact my office tomorrow morning and I'll provide you with one. My telephone number is 892-8110.
What's your name?
Sydney Noyes. I'm the assistant county attorney. I know. Or you can call and ask for Mark Davis too.
Thank you. Can you give me your number again?
Sure. 892-8110.
Thank you.
Anyone else? like to speak to this issue? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have quasi-judicial items.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone who anticipates testifying, if you would, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you provide to this board will be the truth?
I do.
Thank you. If any members of the public come forward to speak on any item, if you would just state your name and state that you've been sworn in. Thank you.
Okay. And does anybody have any
ex parte
ex parte
communication
on any of these items? I don't think I don't think I heard from anybody. Okay.
I think I've already turned mine in last week.
Okay. Dwayne.
Madam Chairman, first huge item is a request to deny the Highland House bed and breakfast. We have asked for information from the owner as far as updating a compatibility study and so forth. We have not received that, and also staff feels like this particular request would be incompatible with the neighborhood, and we are asking it be denied. If any questions, Vivian Shamels here if any questions regarding the application.
Do you have any questions of staff?
I've never seen an application recommended to deny.
Well, this is, we've asked for information. I believe the owner may be out of town or
Really?
and,
Something happened.
right. Vivian, you want to address that? But essentially, we've asked for information, and the owner has failed to provide that to us, and so we really don't have the ability to even review the full.
And you feel like a denial is proper instead of a postponing, or?
I think so. I believe that we've asked for this for quite some time and have not received it, and Vivian and Scott maybe could shed some more light on
Scott.
the
Wait a minute, let me Vivian go first. Vivian, you have anything you want to add to what Wayne said?
Well, Scott was just going to address Ms. Meadows' question, I think.
Yeah, Scott Jenkins with Jenkins Engineering. I was sworn in. I automatically get denials now. That's just, no, just kidding. It is actually a project that's gone through the process for a while. The applicant has kind of decided to change their direction with what they're going to do, and has decided not to move forward with it. They just didn't want to provide the information, but didn't want to withdraw the application because they'd gone so far. So,
All right. Anyone else want to speak to this issue? Yeah,
The first time I'm going to get a fight.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Come forward, please. State your name for the record and spell your last name.
Rick Elliman, E-L-I-M-O-N.
Have you been sworn, sir?
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
have. Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just would like some clarification on what they're doing. Our property is adjacent to them directly, and their access crosses our property. We have no easement, but we've never complained about it. So I'm not sure I understand exactly what they're abandoning. They have a restaurant and an event center that is not permitted or coded. So are they abandoning that? Does that mean it's going to be closed? Does the event stop? It's not a compliant thing with the neighborhood, and we've never gotten really any good feedback. So that's a question.
Vivian, is there still an active code violation on this property?
Yes, there is. And that is part of the reason why we're, definitely moving forward with a recommendation for denial, because it has strung out since 2014, December of 2014.
Okay.
What's the code violation?
Well, the code violation started out with a sign that was actually advertising the restaurant there, and the sign was not permitted. So the sign was an indication also that something was occurring on the property that was not an allowed use. So that's where it stemmed from, and we did request that they come in and do a change of use to a bed and breakfast with a restaurant open to the public in order to be able to come into compliance, and they did go through the technical process of that, but staff did find that the compatibility analysis was not substantial enough to pass muster, and we requested an additional upgraded compatibility analysis. And in the meantime, it was discovered that they were also holding large events at the property. So therefore, that was not addressed in the staff report, nor did the the engineers, they did not address that either because it was unknown to us at the time, so.
But is code enforcement addressing those issues, I think is the question.
I think after tonight, if it's denied tonight, then code enforcement will then go back and start reinstating that case. We did give them time to try to get it into compliance, or at least give them a path to get into compliance. And so code enforcement let that was in abeyance until they get some kind of final conclusion on this particular case. And so if it is denied tonight, then code enforcement will go back out and reinstate the case.
They operated for 2 years while this was going on?
Well, yeah, we did get the code violation was December of 2014, I believe. They may have been even operating possibly a little bit longer before that. So, yeah, we've been...
In the future, I would think that if they don't have that taken care of within a 6-month time period, that you move on.
Yeah.
Well, I think initially we had a sign violation, and the sign violation led us to the restaurant violation, and the restaurant violation led us to the events. And so it's kind of a series of violations. The sign violation is fairly easy to correct, but the use of it is a little more difficult to get that corrected easily, which was what Mr. Jacobs was going through, trying to help them do.
So they're still doing their parties and their venues and their weddings and such, parking out on 30.
But our denial tonight will help put a stop to that.
That's right.
Okay. All right, is anyone else? Did we answer all your questions, sir?
I think so. I was just asking if they were still allowed to hold events as they did last week. It's been 2 years. It seemed like a long time for the county not to know about what's going on.
Yeah, I can tell you that the owner has been informed that after tonight, assuming they get denied, which I've informed them they will most likely they will have to stop whatever activities were involved in their code violations. So then they understand that.
Very good. Okay. Anyone else like to speak to this issue?
Motion to approve, to deny.
Second.
We have a motion to approve, to deny. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Madam Chairman, the next item on the agenda is a request to continue the Siboney plat. This will be the third continuance, which will be the last one. If it's continued again, it'll be a tabling. I've been informed that they are getting their last signatures on their Mylar plat today, and so it should be on the next agenda and should be ready to go. But this will be a third continuance, which I believe, according to board policy, if it goes again, it'll be automatic tabling. That's right.
Yeah. All right. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. A motion and second. Anyone in the public? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Are we moving it to a specific date to 10, 11, 16? Okay.
Yes, ma'am, that's right.
All right.
The next item is a request to approve the Weinkauf small-scale amendment. I'll ask Ms. Samlin to come up and brief the board on this application.
Good evening, Commissioners, Madam Chair. Christine Sammelman, S-A-M-M-E-L-M-A-N-N. This was an application from Ms. Hattie Weinkauf, submitted by Darrell Burgess with Emerald Coast Association to amend the comprehensive plan future land use map on approximately 1.7 acres from neighborhood infill to conservation residential. The property is located just off of East Mac Bayou Drive, about 1 mile north. The proposed amendment to the comprehensive future plan provides an orderly and logical development pattern in the neighborhood and does not contravene any of the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. The request went before the Planning Commission on August 11th, and the Planning Commission approved that the request move forward to your attention. And so we are here tonight to ask you to approve or deny this request. I'll be glad to answer any questions, and I believe Mr. Burgess is here as well.
Board, do you have any questions of the applicant or Ms. Samuelson? Anyone in the audience like to speak to this matter?
Good evening. My name is Darrell Burgess, B-U-R-G-I-S. I'm with Emerald Coast Associates. Just to clarify, there really two reasons for this, and we're even asking for somewhat of a reduction in density. The present owner of the property wants to it's always been a single-family residence for her, and she would like to somewhat ensure that it be the case. She has a contract to sell a portion by a lot split, but does not want potentially denser development by virtue of the infill classification. So if we change to conservation residential, then she has a comfort level that it will always be single-family residential. The person who is contracted to purchase the property while agrees that he's comfortable with the idea, so that's really the primary reason. The secondary reason being that if it were infill, then even for a lot split would be a major development, which even maybe it seems to be going in a different direction now. So that's just in case, the background with the project.
Great, thank you. Does anyone in the audience like to comment? Seeing none, ladies and gentlemen?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, sir. I have a motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. All right.
Madam Chairman, the last item on our agenda is a request to approve the Quattro Mason subdivision plat. It's a 4 single-family lots on 0.63 acres. It's located in the neighborhood infill district. It's located on the east side of Driftwood Road. This has gone through all the process and has met all our requirements, and staff does recommend approval.
Addressing stormwater and all that?
Yes, ma'am. It's been through all those. The memos are in your packet from Dewberry with all their comments.
All right. Anyone like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, ladies and gentlemen?
Motion to close.
Second. Motion and second. Any further questions?
Just want to make sure that the buyout fees and all is part of the motion.
Yes, sir.
And that's part of the motion. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
That's all we have.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to.
Thank you. Wayne, we'll probably leave our